All right, here it is, everybody. We're doing a studio shoot. So this tutorial is going to be on studio lighting. We're going to go over all sorts of things on studio lighting. So we're going to start off with metering your lights. We're going to do a one light shoot, and then we're going to build onto that and do with two lights. We're actually going to have two lights light in the background, but those don't count as lights. Those are background lights. We're talking about one main light to light your subject. So this is going to be our main light for the subject. We're going to add on to that with a reflector. So we're going to have a reflector instead of a fill light. We're going to use a reflector just to reflect light. And then we're also going to use a hair light. So we're going to start off with the single light, and that's going to be hitting right now. So, you know, watch and enjoy. What we're going to do here is we're going to start off with I'm going to tell you some ground rules for lighting, okay? And these by no means are written in stone. They're not something that you should, you know, keep in your head and be like, oh, but I need to be at 45 degrees and I think I'm at 47 degrees. Don't worry about it, all right? These are roundabout things. These are things that are to your eye. Everything that's in an artistic thing is, you know, it's all up to your own perception. So if you like it and you want to roll with it, then roll with that. You know, you're going to grow in different directions than other people. Don't stick to everything that I'm saying as, you know, as gospel truth, and it can't be faded. You know, all this stuff I'm saying can be faded, man. You can fade me. So, you know, if you start learning from me and, you know, you want to do different things and you think they're better than me, then you're better than me. You know? Now we're going to be using a lot of lights today. You know, people are like, you know, I can't afford lights. I don't have lights. You know, should I learn studio photography because I don't even have access to these different tools? I don't know any of these. This is a rental studio, and they're not unheard of. You just look up a Google rental studio in your area and you can find a rental studio. We're at the Rorschach complex in Ontario. This is an Inland Empire studio, so if you're lucky enough to be in the Inland Empire, you know, look up the Rorschach complex and you'll find that all this stuff that I'm using here is theirs. So I just come in here, rent the place. You can find a place to rent, and you know, they're very inexpensive, and you can get your clients to basically foot the bill for that as part of their price that you do for them. So don't get too hung up on, no, I don't have equipment. Don't let anything get you down. You know, if there's something that you think is holding you down, figure out a way to get past it. And if not having equipment is one thing that is keeping you from fulfilling your dreams of learning the studio lighting and doing this kind of stuff, the way is there. And I'll tell you, look up rental studio spaces. All right, what we're going to do here, this is our light meter, and we are going to meter this light, and we're going to make sure we're getting the proper amount of light for a proper exposure. Now, I know that I want to shoot at an f8, so what I'm going to do, that means that my camera's going to be set to f8, and I need the perfect amount of light so that f8 gets a proper exposure. So I have my light meter, and my light meter is going to tell me if these lights are exposed properly. So I do something like this, where I measure the distance that I'm going to keep my model at with my arms, because that length is never going to change, and wherever I am, I know that that's a good distance right there. Pink. It's about 5 feet 8 inches away from what I'm told. So I'm going to do that. Flash. It's an f16, which means there's too much light. It's telling me that my camera is going to, I'll be overexposed at where I'm at. So I'm going to cut this light in half and see what that does for me over here. So I'm going to meter again. Again, I'm going to check my distance. Well, this is work better right here. I'll get a perfect read. I will hold them, I'll switch hands and be smart about it. All right, so we go right there. Bam, we got f8 and a bit. I'm going to bring this down just a little bit more. Because if it's telling me to put, let's say it's telling me to put it at f11, it means there's too much light. It's telling me close your iris a little bit because there's too much light. f5.6, I got to put more light. So if it's a wider aperture, it's telling you that there's less light, so it's telling you that at an f5.6 it's going to be a perfect exposure. See, now we have f8 perfect. So I put a little bit more light, and it tells me to close my aperture down so that it's going to be perfect at f8. So it's a little tricky. That was something I would get stuck on all the time. Is you know, what's the, you know, if I want it to be at f8 on my meter, what do I got to do with that light? And so if there's too much light coming in, it's going to tell you to put a smaller aperture. If there's too little light coming in, it's going to tell you to put a wider aperture, because with the light that's there, you need to open your aperture in order to get the proper exposure. Now this doesn't control my camera, this just tells me what I should set my camera at. So now we know that at this distance, so every time I set Megan up, if I move this light, no matter where I move it, all I gotta do is this. And as long as I know my model's right here at the tip of my fingers here, she's gonna be the perfect distance away. So no matter where I am, no matter what I'm doing, if I set this up anywhere in the world, I normally set it up for this distance because of that reason that I know I'm always going to be exactly this long. If I have a piece of string or something that I'm going to do. If I lose that piece of string, I'm lost, you know, and if that string is this long, I got to be like this. So I just do this for my own convenience because I know I travel with my lights and it always works out for me. So that's why I do that. But now we learned how to do that, and we're going to get to our one light setup right now. I got to make sure that my camera is set up the way that I told it to. So I have to set my ISO to 100. It was up at 800. So I'm going to set my shutter speed to 160 because that's fantastic. And actually it's because it's got to be in sync with the flash sync speed. So you don't want to go with anything over a 200th of a second. So just keep that in mind. And you don't want it to be, you know, a full second shutter exposure because you don't want to get all the ambient light to come in and start messing with your picture. So just trust me with that. Stick around 160, 200 and you'll be fine for shots like this. If you want to start getting freaky deaky and doing shots all your way, feel free. So do your thing, I'll do mine. So we're going to start shooting in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. So what I'm going to do is, these are some of the basics. This is what's called, this is like the 45-degree angle. It's 45 and 45. What you want to do is, okay, here's Megan. She's going to be looking this way. I'm going to be over here. And we want the light to be 45 degrees away from her. And if you know nothing about math, basically straight ahead, if I were to go straight through Megan here, that's 180. A 90-degree angle is like a right angle like this. And then 45 degrees would be right in the middle of that. So this light's going to be 45 degrees here. So I'm here. This is 45 degrees this way. And that would be about right here. Now the 45-45 is okay at Megan's eye level. We want this light to be 45 degrees. So if it was straight here, straight up here, we want this light to be somewhere around here. So we're going to go 45 degrees up this way. And then, so it's going to be 45 degrees to the side and 45 degrees up. That's 45-45, and that's a good place to start. I'm going to go ahead and move that right here. And like I said, this is all up for debate. Like I said, it's a good place to start. If you're learning a one light system, this is a solid one light setup. And we're going to want to angle this down towards Megan so we're not just losing light to nowhere to nothing. We're going to want the plane of this to be even with the plane of hers. So thank you, Megan, very much. Now when we pose Megan here, what we're going to do is we're going to have Megan face towards the light. So we're going to start off with Megan towards the light. And one general rule is that you don't want her shoulders square with the camera, okay? The camera's going to be over here. You don't want Megan to be square with the camera. You want her at a 45-degree angle going directly towards the light. Turn a little bit more this way, Megan. And then now she's going to turn her face this way. And that's going to give us some contour in her face. It's going to put shadows on this side of her face. And I'm going to actually take a picture. So I'm going to step back here. You can follow me, Linwood, with that. All right. And I'm going to frame it vertically. Get in nice and close. Look at Megan. She's looking beautiful. And there we go. I'm going to change my white balance because this white balance is awful for this. And so I still have a little bit more setup to do. Make sure you got your white balance correct. Make sure you got everything looking super sharp. So as you're not, ooh, I like that. And then in this picture, we're also getting some highlights here on Megan's face, and that's from that light there. So if we had these lights off, we'd be able to see that we're getting these little highlights. Now I personally like them. I think it looks fantastic, so I'm going to keep it there. But now that becomes the second light. So we're doing a one light setup here, but this light here, I'm going to turn it off and take a couple shots just so you can get an idea of what it looks like without the background lit and without that light hitting on the side of Megan's face. Now we're going to see what it is with this one light so we can see how this light is affecting Megan, okay? Beautiful. We're getting a little bit of this light too, so I'm going to turn this off. And you're going to see the effect of that white background. It's not going to be white when it's not exposed correctly, okay? It's going to be underexposed, so it's going to be a blah kind of gray. So just think of blah gray, and that's what you're going to get back there. So looking right here. Beautiful. All right.